The stars blinked out, one by one. Commander Jack Hunter stood on the edge of the orbital station Eden 5, staring at the black void. Moments ago, Earth's sky had been clear. Now something massive blocked the view. "Sir, we're getting no signal from the moon base," said a nervous voice behind him. Jack didn't blink. "Keep scanning. That's not a sensor glitch. That's a fleet." Then the sound came, a deep, low hum, like the sound of a dying planet. Every metal surface vibrated. Lights flickered. People screamed. Jack's blood turned cold. The invasion had begun. 3 days earlier, Earth had received a strange signal from deep space. It wasn't a message. It was a warning, coded in an unknown language but clear in tone. Prepare for judgment. The governments of Earth ignored it. After all, humanity had joined the Galactic Peace Treaty just 12 years ago. Aliens were allies now, or so they thought, but not the Zorkai. The Zorkai were ancient, arrogant, and cruel. They believed humans were unworthy to explore the stars. To them, humanity was a mistake, a disease spreading through the galaxy. And now, they had come to erase it. Inside the United Earth Defense Command, panic spread fast. General Aria Monroe slammed her fist on the table. "Where the hell did they come from?" "No warning. They dropped out of FTL using shadow jump tech," replied a scientist. "We didn't even detect them until they were in orbit. They've disabled our satellites, crushed our outer colonies. Mars is dark. Titan is gone." General Monroe turned to the hologram of Jack Hunter. "Commander, what's your status?" Jack looked calm, but his eyes were sharp. "Eden 5 is holding for now, but we just watched 12 enemy ships appear out of nowhere. They're testing us, and I don't think we're ready." Meanwhile, on the lead Zorkai warship, a tall alien in black armor stood before a screen showing Earth. His name was Lord Varex, and his voice was colder than ice. "Begin the purge." "But—" "Lord Varex," said a younger officer, "some say humans have potential. They've adapted fast. They're soldiers." Varex didn't even turn. "They're animals with guns. Curious, yes. Dangerous, not yet. But if left unchecked, they could become a threat." He stepped forward, claws tapping the metal floor. Better to kill a spark before it becomes a fire. The attack came without mercy. Lasers rained from orbit, striking power plants, communication hubs, and military bases. In seconds, major cities were blacked out. People screamed. Fires lit up the night sky. Entire countries went silent, but Earth didn't break. It screamed back. Jack Hunter was already in the pilot seat of his ship, the Dagger, when the alarm sounded. "Is this it?" asked his co-pilot, Lieutenant Maya. Jack nodded. "Yeah, the war we never wanted. But we'll show them who they messed with." He launched toward the fleet. His ship sliced through debris, past the falling ruins of orbital platforms. He wasn't alone. Hundreds of human fighters rose from Earth and space stations, swarming toward the enemy like angry wasps. Zorkai ships were stronger, but humans were unpredictable, wild, emotional, brave. Above the planet, the first space battle of the war began. Human ships darted and weaved, using speed and clever tactics. They didn't fight like the Zorkai expected. They didn't follow rules. They improvised. One pilot turned her broken ship into a missile. Another hacked a drone and sent it into a warship's engine. Commander Jack blasted through 2 enemy scouts before diving under the massive mothership. "What are you doing?" Maya shouted. "Making history," Jack grinned. He launched EMP charges at close range. The Zorkai mothership flickered and lost shields for 2 seconds. It was enough. 3 human torpedoes struck its core. The explosion lit the sky. They'd killed a Titan. Back in the enemy command center, Lord Varex stared at the screen. His jaw tightened. "They're evolving." "During battle?" "Yes, my lord," the officer said quietly. Varex's eyes narrowed. "Then this won't be a purge. This will be a hunt," he turned, "and humans are now prey." On Earth, people were rising from the rubble. Soldiers, medics, hackers, civilians. The world was bleeding, but it was not broken. In a bunker beneath New York, General Monroe looked at the live footage of the sky battle. "They thought we were weak," she whispered. "They're about to learn the truth." And far above, Commander Jack looked at the stars. Aliens picked the wrong species to mess with. The first war had begun. But humanity. Humanity was just getting started. The human spark, the battlefield was silent, dead silent, no alarms. No gunfire, no screams, just wreckage, floating bodies, burned-out ships, broken satellites spinning slowly over Earth. Above it all, in the stillness of orbit, a black Zorkai drone hovered, recording everything. It zoomed in on a single human fighter drifting alone. No power, no signal, inside that fighter. A heartbeat. Commander Jack Hunter's eyes snapped open. Pain. His ribs were bruised. The console had exploded during the last hit. Sparks danced in the cockpit. Life support was fading. Oxygen 11%, but Jack wasn't dead. Not yet, he groaned, forcing himself upright. Then he saw the enemy drone. Just watching, recording, waiting, Jack smirked. "You think I'm done?" he whispered. "Watch this." Far above, inside the Zorkai mothership, Lord Varex reviewed the drone's feed. The human pilot was still alive, injured, cornered. "Finish him," Varex ordered. The drone began to charge its weapon, but Jack was ready. He punched open the emergency panel, grabbed a wire, bit it with his teeth. Power surged. The cockpit lights flared, and then, boom! Jack ejected, launching himself through zero gravity just as the drone fired. The fighter exploded. The drone scanned. No life detected. It moved on. But Jack was already drifting toward a human escape pod hidden in the debris. That was the thing about humans. They always had backup plans. Back on Earth, cities burned, hospitals overflowed. But so did the shelters, with survivors. In the underground base in Alaska, General Arya Monroe stared at the global reports. 5% of the Zorkai fleet had been destroyed. Human losses were higher. Yes, but something strange was happening. People weren't running, they were fighting back. She watched a video from South Africa, villagers, using construction drones to shoot down a scout ship, another from Brazil, teenagers. Hacking a Zorkai translator to send false coordinates. And in Lahore, Pakistan, civilians shielding a wounded pilot, hiding her from enemy patrols all across Earth. The human spark was alive. Meanwhile, deep inside the Zorkai fleet, whispers had begun. In the lower decks, among the younger soldiers, there were questions. Why are the humans fighting so hard? Why do they not surrender like other species? One alien technician, barely past his youth phase, asked, "What if we're wrong about them?" A black armored enforcer struck him across the face. Silence. Their defiance is weakness. They are primitives, but the young alien held his bleeding jaw and whispered to himself, "Then why do they scare me?" In the debris field, Jack finally reached the pod. He hacked the door with half-dead fingers, collapsed inside, and triggered the beacon. Location pinged, signal sent. He passed out. Hours later, he woke up to humming lights. Not white. Blue. He was not in a human ship, and the woman beside him, not human either. Her skin was pale silver. Her hair shimmered like stars. Her eyes glowed violet. She held a device near his chest. "You're lucky to be alive," she said calmly. Jack blinked. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm Elira. I'm not from Earth. But I'm not Zorkai either." He tried to sit up. She gently pushed him down. "Your people are stronger than we expected," she said. "And more dangerous." "Good," Jack growled. "Because we're not done." Back at United Earth Command, General Monroe picked up a strange message, not from their satellites, from deep space, unknown origin. It said just 3 words, "Let them burn." She stared at it, then called her aide. "Trace it." "Already trying, ma'am," the aide replied. "But there's more." "More?" "Yes, 2 other signals, from alien factions." "Which ones?" "One says Earth must be protected. The other?" It said, "We owe them." General Monroe leaned back, her mind racing. The war had begun. But now... The galaxy was watching and choosing sides. She tapped the console. "Get me the commander." Wherever Jack Hunter is, we need him. But Jack was still in Elira's ship, and Elira had questions. "What are you people?" she asked. "You lose your cities, and you fight harder. Your leaders fall, and new ones rise from the dust." Jack's smile was weak but proud. "We're human," he said. "We don't know how to quit. She stared at him, then quietly said, "Then maybe the Zorkai just made the worst mistake of their existence." Outside her ship, the stars shimmered, and far beyond the system, the true enemy stirred, something older than the Zorkai, something watching Earth, waiting because humanity had awakened, and something ancient had taken interest. The ones who remember, the old man sat in silence, eyes closed. Breathing slow, his hands rested on the dirt. Around him, the village was quiet, too quiet. The children had stopped playing, the animals had gone still, and in the distance, the sky was glowing red. They were coming, again. He opened his eyes. They were clouded. "But sharp," I told them, he whispered. "They never listen." "Not until it's too late." He stood up slowly, bones cracking. Then he walked toward the edge of the village. To wait. Because he remembered. This wasn't Earth's first contact. It was just the first time Earth fought back. 3 days earlier, deep beneath the ocean, a secret Earth facility went dark. It was called Site 9, no public records. No media, not even military maps. Only a handful of people knew it existed, and now it was gone. Inside United Earth Command, alarms blared. General Monroe slammed her fist on the table. "Get me a visual!" A drone feed came online. Fuzzy at first, then clear. The entire underwater base had vanished. Like something had erased it, there was no explosion. No wreckage, just silence, and one symbol burned into the ocean floor. No one could read it, but an old historian in Cairo did, and he dropped his coffee when he saw it. "That's not alien," he whispered. "That's ancient. And human." Meanwhile, Jack Hunter was still recovering on Elira's ship. He sat shirtless, wrapped in bandages, staring at the star map. "Where are we now?" "Close to Earth, but not in your system," Elira said. "I'm keeping low. If the Zorkai find us, they'll destroy us both." Jack turned. "Why are you helping me?" Elira paused, then said, "Because my people remember." "Remember what?" She walked toward him, her silver skin shimmering in the low light. A time long before the Zorkai ruled the stars. "When humans were not what they are now," Jack blinked. "You think we're ancient?" "No," she whispered. "I think you're coming back." In the Galactic Council, chaos. Multiple species were shouting. Screens displayed Earth's battles. Humans resisting. Fighting, surviving. The Zorkai ambassador stood with pride. "Earth is unstable. They must be removed." A soft voice cut the room. It belonged to the archivist of Mir, a fragile-looking being with translucent skin. "They must not be removed," she said. "Why?" The Zorkai snarled. The archivist turned toward the display. "Because the last time a species resisted extinction this hard, they became gods." Back on Earth in the old village, the red sky finally cracked. A Zorkai dropship broke through the clouds. It hovered, scanned, and spoke in a mechanical voice. "This settlement is unauthorized. Surrender your resources." The villagers said nothing, but the old man stepped forward. "I remember your kind," he said, his voice steady. "I fought you before." The ship laughed. "That is impossible. Humanity only joined the stars 12 cycles ago." The old man smiled. He reached into the dirt and pulled out something glowing. Not a weapon, a memory stone. Old tech. Pre-Zorkai, before they wiped out ancient civilizations, the ship scanned it and paused. "Impossible." "Tell your masters," the old man said, his voice hard now. "Earth remembers." Then the stone pulsed, and a massive energy wave burst from the ground, frying the dropship's systems and sending it crashing into the forest. The villagers stared in shock. The old man turned to them. "It's starting again. But this time, we fight together. In United Earth Command." General Monroe watched a dozen secret reports come in. Underground bunkers lighting up, hidden weapons activating, old symbols appearing all over the planet. "What the hell is going on?" she whispered. Her aide turned, pale-faced. "Ma'am, I think humanity had contact with aliens long before we think." Back in Elira's ship, Jack stared at her. "You're saying we're not new to space?" "We're what?" "Old," she nodded. "I've studied the ruins on lost worlds. Your kind has been here before. You vanished, but now, something's waking you up again. Jack clenched his fist. And the Zorkai? They're scared, Elira said. They should be. Jack replied. Then his comm lit up. Emergency call from General Monroe. He accepted. Jack. We found something under the Antarctic ice. Big, old, human, good or bad. We don't know. But it's awake, and it's calling your name. Jack's face went cold. Elira placed a hand on his shoulder. Looks like your species just became the center of the galaxy. Jack stood up. We're not the center. We're the spark. Above Earth, the stars blinked again, but this time, something blinked back, and it was not Zorkai. It was older, and it was watching Earth rise. The forgotten code. The ice cracked, a sound no one had heard in 1,000 years. Beneath Antarctica's frozen crust, something old was waking up. Not a machine, not a weapon, a code. It pulsed through the ground like a heartbeat. Then it spoke, not in sound, not in words, but in memories. Memories only one man could understand. Jack Hunter stood at the center of the dig site, staring at a black obelisk. It stood taller than any human, smooth as glass, humming with power. No lights, no doors. Just a single symbol glowing faintly. General Monroe stood behind him, arms crossed. We sent drones. They shut down. We tried scanning. The system fried. But the second you arrived, it lit up, Jack finished. He stepped forward, boots crunching ice. Why me? A new voice answered from behind. Because your DNA is the key. Jack turned sharply. Elira stepped out of the snowstorm, wrapped in a silver cloak. What are you doing here? I followed the signal, she said softly. It's not just technology. It's a message, left behind by your ancestors, or maybe by you. Long ago, General Monroe frowned. What is she talking about? Jack stared at the obelisk. His fingers tingled. His chest felt tight, like he already knew the answer. He reached out, and the world went white. Suddenly, he wasn't in Antarctica. He stood in a vast chamber made of stars. Endless. Silent. In front of him floated a being of light, human in shape but impossible to describe. Its voice echoed inside his skull. You have returned. Jack's heart pounded. What is this? The seed you carry was planted long ago. Your kind fell, but you adapted. Now the code awakens again. What seed? Knowledge. Buried in blood and time. Protected by memory. Hidden in the chaos of your humanity. Then it showed him. Flashes of ancient Earth. Cities that floated in the sky. Moons with human banners. Ships older than the pyramids, Jack gasped. We were a spacefaring species. Thousands of years ago. You were more than that. You were guardians, explorers. But fear consumed your kind. You erased yourselves to protect the galaxy from what was coming. The Zorkai? No, something worse. The being raised a hand. The true enemy is still sleeping. The Zorkai are just the first wave. Then Jack was falling, back into his body. He gasped, knees hitting the ice. Monroe and Elira ran to him. What happened? Jack looked up, eyes glowing faintly gold. They left us a warning, he said slowly, and a gift. He held out his hand. The black obelisk began to float, and behind it, the ice cracked open, revealing a hidden ship. Old. Human. But unlike anything Earth had ever built. In the orbit above, the Zorkai fleet detected the activation. Lord Varek stared at the readings. What is this? He growled. An officer trembled. The human planet has awakened something. Unknown. Send a dreadnought. Destroy the site. And if that fails? Varex narrowed his eyes. Then we prepare for extinction. Inside the ancient ship, Jack stepped onto the bridge. The ship recognized him. Genetic match confirmed. Welcome, Guardian. Lights came on. A hologram blinked alive. An AI appeared. Human, female, wise. Her name, Nova. You have reawakened the Atlas Protocol. Elira stared in shock. This ship is alive. Nova turned to Jack. You are now the warden of Earth's last memory. The code is inside you, and the weapon is knowledge. General Monroe stepped forward. Can it fight? Nova nodded, not with guns, but with something stronger. What's stronger than weapons? Jack asked. Truth. Back at United Earth Command, chaos returned. A traitor had leaked coordinates to the Zorkai. A fleet was coming. Fast. Monroe shouted orders. Evacuate. Prepare defenses. Get that ancient ship in the air. But it was too late. The sky over Antarctica turned black. Zorkai dreadnoughts entered atmosphere. The war was about to get worse. Inside the Atlas ship, Nova turned to Jack. It's time to show the galaxy who humans really are. Jack stepped forward. Fire in his eyes. Then let's wake the rest of the world. Nova activated a global signal. Every phone, every screen, every speaker on Earth blinked alive, and Jack's voice echoed worldwide. This is Commander Jack Hunter. We were never meant to survive. We were meant to lead, and now they've come for us again. But this time, we remember who we are. Across Earth, something sparked. The human spirit, every city, every village, every survivor. They stood up, grabbed tools, grabbed weapons, grabbed hope, and looked to the sky, because the war wasn't over. It was just beginning. Echoes of the forgotten war, it didn't begin with Jack Hunter. It began 10,000 years ago. Long before Earth's history books, long before the pyramids, long before the stars had names, there was a war so deadly, so unstoppable that the survivors chose to forget it. They buried their cities, erased their science, shut down their own minds. They became us, and now it was all coming back. The stars flickered, then the sky opened. 12 Zorkai dreadnoughts entered Earth's atmosphere. Black shadows blocking out the sun. Over Antarctica, panic spread. General Monroe stood in the command bunker, eyes locked on the live feed. They're not here to warn us anymore, she said quietly. They're here to end us. Inside the ancient Atlas ship, Jack stood on the bridge, staring at the countdown. Minutes until the first strike. Nova. The ship's AI floated beside him as a glowing avatar. They fear what you've awakened. That means they remember too. Jack clenched his jaw. Then it's time to make them afraid again. He turned to General Monroe on the holoscreen. Ready the message. What message? She asked. Jack stared at the camera. The one they buried with the truth. Far in orbit, on the Zorkai flagship, Lord Varex watched Earth's screens flicker. Then, the message came. Every enemy ship received it. It was a human face, female, middle-aged, calm, not live. A recording. To those who find this, we were once like you, proud, powerful, blind, but we saw what sleeps beyond the stars. We chose to fall so others could rise. If you're seeing this, and still dare to invade Earth, then you've made the same mistake we did. Then came the signature, and you. Ancient crest burned into the screen. Not of Earth, not of any country, but of the first human empire. The E. Zorkai fleet went silent. Several younger captains began shouting across channels, "This isn't possible! Humanity was primitive." No, they were in hiding. And then one voice whispered, "They're waking up." On Earth, Nova powered up the Atlas ship's core. "It's not a weapon," she said. "It's a signal amplifier." "Amplifier for what?" Jack asked. "For memory." As the amplifier activated, people across Earth began remembering. Not just soldiers, civilians, children, elders. They saw flashes of places they'd never been, wars they'd never fought, languages they didn't know, but suddenly understood. In Pakistan, a farmer fell to his knees crying. "I've seen that sky before," he whispered. In Kenya, a 12-year-old girl picked up a broken tablet and fixed it. In Tokyo, an old woman walked to the ocean and said, "The gates are opening again. Humanity was remembering, and with memory came awakening." Back in the Atlas ship, Jack felt a surge of energy. Nova turned to him, her voice urgent. "The signal is working, but the enemy is moving." "They're preparing to fire." Jack turned to Elira. "You said your people study the past?" "Yes," she said, watching the data stream across the screen. "Then help me rewrite the future." The first Zorkai dreadnought fired, a beam of pure energy shot toward the planet, but before it could reach the surface, the beam bent, then shattered into sparks all across the globe. Ancient human defense grids activated, systems long buried. Now reborn, giant obelisks rose from mountains, domes shimmered around key cities. Old weapons, once considered myth, were now very real. Humanity wasn't just surviving, it was remembering how to fight. Lord Varek slammed his fist into the control panel. This wasn't supposed to happen. A younger officer turned. "Sir, we just picked up new signals." "What kind?" "Human ships. Thousands of them. Coming from outside the solar system." "What?" "They're responding to the Atlas signal." "Hidden colonies, exiles, survivors!" Varek's eyes widened. They were never alone. Jack watched the star map as dots lit up. Ships, bases, outposts, long-lost pieces of humanity, coming back online. "The past is calling," Nova said softly. "And the galaxy is listening." Jack turned to the camera. "Let the Zorkai hear this." General Monroe patched the feed. Jack leaned in, to all species watching. "You messed with humans. Bad move. Now you'll see why. You won't survive. The signal went galaxy-wide, and the stars responded. The enemy, within, in a cold, empty hall under the surface of Mars. A boy sat beside a coffin made of light. He wasn't human, but he cried like one. Inside the glowing pod was a woman, pale blue skin, silver hair frozen in stasis. She had once saved his life. Now, he would betray the entire galaxy. To bring her back, he activated the signal. A pulse went out. Far away. Something ancient heard him, and it opened its eyes. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Commander Jack Hunter was speaking to the world again. His face was tired. His voice calm. "The Zorkai attacked us because they feared what we might become. But now we remember who we were. And it's time the galaxy remembers too." Across Earth, ancient cities were rising from oceans, deserts, and mountains. Technology that had once been buried was now back in human hands. The Atlas network was active. People everywhere were learning fast. New languages, science, flight, and warfare. The galaxy watched in silence. They weren't sure whether to fear the humans or follow them. In orbit, the Zorkai command ship was quiet. Lord Varek stood alone, staring at a map of Earth. 12 dreadnoughts gone, 50. Scout ships destroyed, thousands. Of Zorkai dead. He looked down at the broken sword. In his hand, a trophy from an earlier war. Now it meant nothing. "They were supposed to fall," he whispered. "They were supposed to break." Behind him, a voice replied. "They didn't." Varex turned sharply. It was one of his own officers, except his eyes now glowed black. What did you do?" The officer smiled with something not alive. "Your war woke the wrong gods, Varex, and now humanity is just the beginning." The lights went out, then came the scream. Back on Earth, in the Atlas ship. Nova the AI was running scans. Her voice came through the speakers. "Jack, we have a problem." Jack turned. Elira stood beside him, already sensing danger. "What kind of problem?" Nova hesitated. "There's a new signal, coming from Mars, deep, artificial, but wrapped in biological code." "What's it doing?" Elira asked. "It's calling something," Jack frowned. "Another Zorkai fleet?" Nova shook her head. "No, worse." Then the ship shook violently. Jack grabbed the rail. "What was that?" Nova's voice trembled. Something just exited hyperspace. But not through normal coordinates. It came through a rift. Jack's eyes widened. A rift from where? In a hidden lab on Earth, General Monroe faced her own horror. A scientist was screaming, "Ma'am! Look at this!" He played a slowed-down clip from the ancient Atlas system memory. A video, buried deep. It showed a past version of Earth, thousands of years ago. But not peaceful. Burning, screaming. A black sky and a phrase written in dozens of languages. It came through the minds. Jack stood on the Atlas ship's bridge, staring at the new arrival. It wasn't a ship. It was a living mass of metal, glass, and screaming light like a planet-sized jellyfish made of nightmares. "What is that?" Elira whispered. Nova answered. "That is the true enemy. It feeds on thought, memory, and fear, and someone just invited it back." Far below, in the hidden chamber on Mars, the boy who had sent the signal finally saw his mistake. The frozen woman opened her eyes, but not as he remembered her. She was hollow now. Her voice distorted. "Thank you for freeing me," she said coldly. Then her hands turned to blades. He didn't scream for long. Back on Earth, people began to experience something strange. Visions, nightmares, lost memories. The creature in orbit wasn't attacking with weapons, it was attacking with ideas, breaking. The mind before the body. Elira clutched her head. "I see, burning moons. Screaming suns." Jack held her steady. "Nova, can we stop it?" "Only one way." "You must activate the last firewall," Jack frowned. "What is that?" "A weapon created by your ancestors. It can seal the mind space from outside influence, but someone must connect with it. Directly." Jack looked at Elira. She shook her head, eyes still dazed. "You can't. If it links with your mind, it might destroy your soul." Jack stared out the window. "I've died once before," he said. "Maybe this time I wake up the universe." Nova activated the firewall chamber deep in the Atlas ship. Jack entered alone. One chair. One glowing crystal. His memories were already shaking. His mother's face flickered. His name felt distant. The voice of the ancient being whispered, "Give me your pain, and I will give you peace." But Jack smiled. "You messed with the wrong species." And he sat down. Outside, the sky above Earth turned gold. The firewall activated. The creature screamed, but no one could hear it now. The link was sealed. Earth was safe, for now. But Jack didn't come out. He was trapped in the firewall, a living barrier between humanity and madness. Elira stood outside the chamber, hand pressed to the glass. "Come back," she whispered. Nova's voice was soft. "He's still in there, watching." Holding the line, and far away, in the silence of the stars, the ancient threat began to move. One world had resisted, now others might follow. The final war had begun. The final signal: he had no body, no voice, no heartbeat, and yet Jack Hunter still existed. Somewhere between light and memory, thought and time, he floated, watching. Billions of human thoughts moved around him like stars. He couldn't speak, but he felt them. Fear, hope, love, and one voice, stronger than all. "Elira, I will bring you back," she whispered across the firewall. "I don't care what it takes. Back on Earth?" Peace was a lie. The dimensional entity had been blocked, but not destroyed. It had simply moved. Now it whispered into the weakest minds across the galaxy. Pirates, warlords, desperate. Empires. It showed them power. It promised them victory. It turned them into weapons. Within days, half the galaxy was on fire, and at the center of it all, Earth. General Monroe stood in the war room, silent as dozens of holograms displayed collapsing planets. She didn't speak until Elira entered. "I'm going after him," she said firmly. Monroe looked at her, then nodded slowly. "I figured you would. You think I'll fail?" Monroe turned to the window. "No, I think you're the only one who might succeed." Elira placed her hand on the glass. "Jack said the final war was coming." Monroe's jaw tightened. "No, it's already here, deep inside the Atlas ship." Elira entered the mind gate chamber. The firewall pulsed, massive, golden. Humming like a living sun, Nova's voice spoke softly. "Entering that space could destroy you." "I don't care," Elira said. "You love him," Nova said. Elira smiled sadly. "More than I ever thought possible." Nova paused, then go. "But remember, you are not just saving him. You are waking the last protector of humanity." Elira stepped into the light. The mind space was cold, endless, then warm, then full of screams. She saw Jack, kneeling, arms outstretched, holding back the storm. He looked older now, tired, but his eyes still burned. "You came," he whispered. "I told you I would," she said. Jack reached for her, but the firewall pushed back. "You have to go." "No." Elira pressed her hand to his chest. Their memories aligned, and suddenly the firewall shattered, in orbit. Every screen across Earth blinked white. Nova gasped. "The warden has returned." Jack stood on the bridge again, breathing, alive, beside Elira, whose eyes glowed with power. But something was different. Jack wasn't just human anymore. He was something more, connected to every ship, system, and satellite. Nova whispered in awe. He's become the signal. The final invasion came like thunder, a massive fleet, hundreds of species, infected by the entity, converged on Earth. Jack didn't give a speech, he just pointed, and the sky lit up. Ancient weapons, orbital cannons, Atlas-class ships, reactivated Earth colonies returned. Allied species who believed in humans joined the battle. Even some Sorkai ships defected, turning on their own infected kind. Elira led a silver-winged squadron through the stars. Jack guided everything, every pilot, every turret, every defense grid. He wasn't fighting, he was orchestrating the future. Then the entity came itself, not in a ship, but as a shadow across the stars, a wave of darkness that swallowed. Light, Jack turned to Elira. Are you ready? She nodded. Together, they flew the Atlas ship straight into the heart of the darkness. What happened next is only recorded in signals, no cameras, no sensors, just energy readings off the charts, then silence, and finally, light. The entity was gone, burned out by the very thing it couldn't control, the human mind. Full of chaos, emotion, memory, pain, it couldn't overwrite what refused to forget. Jack and Elira didn't return, not in body, but every human across. Earth felt them, in their dreams, in the silence, in the signal. Years later, children played under a golden sky. No warships, no fear, only peace. A statue stood in New Haven's central plaza, of a man and an alien woman standing side by side.
Hands raised, looking at the stars. At the base was a quote,
Simple and clear. You messed with humans. Bad move, we're still here.